the air.
I am. And all this
uh,
fancy hand sanitizer that Shannon bought for Rob.
I just don't even use hand sanitizer. I wash my hands.
I mean,
I
it
mean,
doesn't work, but I mean,
well,
it's
the Gupta said that it does, but it's if it's 90 if it's 60% alcohol, but it's like it's as Alton Brown said, or is it
mm-hmm.
Alton? Anyways, as he says, it's better just to wash your hands, and that's what I've been doing. I just wash my hands.
Well, yeah, but
And there's people at work that go to the bathroom and then don't wash their hands, and I'm like, and I'm stuck in this call center. What the?
yeah. But I didn't want to get up and wash my hands again, and I was touching this can that I just pulled out of a small portable cooler I was using the other day.
and
Da,
of
da, da,
course,
da,
and of course, it's now spring, so now all of us are coughing, and it's like as soon as you cough, everybody goes and like it's spring.
Yeah, Rob's hopefully he's talking about it. Hopefully, going to talk himself out of going to visit Shannon tomorrow. Um, there's
I
that. Uh, there's a case at her office.
oh
They got notified by HHS today. So
so I have there's not been a case at my office, but I have not seen my girlfriend in 2 weeks now, because just in case,
mm-hmm.
because you know, just in case, because they're all that entire her and her entire family are high risk, and I'm like, you know what, it sucks. I'd like to see my girlfriend. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Just like anyways, all right, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Oh, I have to wake up my phone. Well, you're starting.
All right, are we we're
The
live, I
first notes are
guess.
purple. Yes, we're live. I didn't share. I should share.
Yeah, share.
Still
Uh,
connected to Twitter. Oh my god. Um, am I supposed to remember my Twitter password? Hopefully, this is the right one saved to my computer. Yep. I mean, maybe. Yep.
okay.
I mean, I saved it to mine, not to Heresy. But I can do the
Yeah.
right one on Facebook. I can save it to our page. Newsfeed or story. A group event page I manage. Did you see what Rob's doing tonight?
No, I didn't. What's Rob doing tonight?
He's going to do a live stream and write a song with whoever shows up in chat.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'll be
Like TV
interesting.
Live has done that occasionally, so it's kind of fun thing. All right, I shared a couple places.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So, here we go. And the crowd asked him, "What then should we do?" And he said to them in reply, "Whomever has 2 tunics should share with a person who has none, and whoever has food should do likewise." Luke 3:10 and 11.
Thousands of thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared.
Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, drive out the demons. Without cost you have received, without cost are you to give. Matthew 10:8.
No one else, oops, no one is useless in this world who lighten the burdens of another. Charles Dickens. Let's talk about helping out in a crisis.
Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast to reclaim faith in the context of political discussion. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII, and you can follow the show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow us. Also, give us a review because that helps others find us. And here to help me, as always, is the plague doctor herself, Ember.
Hi there, I'm September. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12. That's NINEOF 1 2. And hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/heresy and hearsay, where you can visit and help us support. What? Visit to help support us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us make this humble podcast. You can also contribute with bits in Twitch or subscribe for free if you have Amazon Prime.
So before we start into the actual some of the news, but we're also going to talk about good things that are going on as well. Most of this is going to be things to look forward to, things that we're hoping will happen. But before we do that, I want to see, how are you coping, September? What are you doing to while you're social distancing and staying away from crowds of people as much as possible? How are you coping with that?
I'm dealing pretty well. I have my family to take care of, and I've been helping our local music scene. This is really hard hitting. I mean, we spend a lot of time. My husband's a musician as well as a software developer. So we spend a time in local clubs and venues, and they're all shut down except for ones that can you can drive up and pick up your beer or food. So a lot of our friends are servers, cooks, bartenders, and they're all suffering, and these musicians. Some of them, unlike my husband, rely on that for their income. So Rob set up a page, Statesville NC Music Scene, and I think we got over 300 members already, and people have been live streaming. There's been like a couple dozen live streams. We're sharing people's Venmo tip jars. I set up a PayPal in like a subgroup in my PayPal because at least one of our friends doesn't have a bank account, but he relies on us as a musician. And uh, I actually met him today in a parking lot to hand off some money that he had been tipped like $80 for some streams he did this week. So that's felt really good. The musical community here has been amazing. I supporting each other, supporting the businesses that they would have been playing at. Some of them have donated all or some of the proceeds from their live streams to the wait staff that's out of work right now. Tanya Wood, Wendy Wooten, they went and set up outside the venues they would have been playing at and just played outdoors and took tips and donated them. So cool. So I've been keeping really busy with that, and little bits of tech support for everybody wants to stream now, right? And Facebook Live is easy. We didn't have very good. It's not very good quality compared to using OBS, so I'm working on better solutions there in our household. And my husband will be streaming tonight at 8:30. You'll be able to find us on Facebook Live, and his Twitch channel is twitch.tv/rmccready. You're welcome to go by there and, leave tips, and he's sharing stuff with the locals.
What I'm and that's the big thing, is that especially a lot of the streamers and stuff like that, a lot of even the bigger companies, like I follow people like What Culture and stuff like that too, and even they're having to struggle right now because of the fact that they're like, being at home a lot and stuff like that. So content is being harder to put out and stuff like that. But even especially the smaller independent groups on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and stuff are definitely feeling it because of the fact that there is a lot of, because people are, not being able to work, and this is disposable income for them, as far as having to support that they support their favorite artists and stuff like that. So those that can step up, those that still are able to work or still are in what's known as essential job functions that can step up and try to fill some of those gaps would be probably greatly appreciated. As for me, I live alone, so I don't have a lot of stuff that I'm doing. I'm rereading The Stand for some reason. I don't know why.
Rob was looking at in the Amazon store. He had a panic attack yesterday reading about an account of someone who has it. Um, and then he was looking at the stand on in Amazon last night. I'm like, what? That's a terrible idea right now.
It's Steve. It's a joke. I use that as I try to be dark humor. It's not nearly that bad. I'm just like, yeah, it's like I'm rereading The Stand. Actually, I see a lot of people reading books. There's a young lady I'm following now that's rereading The Lord of the Rings. I do that quite often, but there's a lot of people picking up books again and stuff like that. That one of the things that I would love to see for the people that we know and stuff like that is like, all of us have books, most of us are readers and stuff like that, is to like, hey, I'll put a set of books out at your doorstep and a can of Lysol, just spray them off and bring them in your house and read them when you're done. Just bring let me know and I'll come and pick them up, or vice versa.
Well, actually, I'm gonna finally, because we're way behind with Geek Grill, especially with the format change. We didn't know when we were gonna do it. We're gonna do our book club episode next week,
Right.
and I had not read the book, and I am buying it right now.
What book are you reading?
The Black Swan by Mercedes Lackey.
Okay, I know who Mercedes Lackey is. I'm still mad at her, but um completely different reasons. But is the Black Swan like a what is that book?
I don't know.
Is okay.
I don't know. It's one of Linda's favorite books, and it's been in
Okay.
our list, and we rolled the die on the list, and
Okay.
um, she's read it over and over and over. So it's supposed to be really good, and I trust her. So that's going to be this week's quarantine because I think I'm stopping doing Instacart. Our cases are increasing locally very quickly.
Right.
And as much as I feel like I like doing that because I can help get things to people who absolutely can't use the house or leave the house, I I'm having a flare up, so that has me a little concerned with my autoimmune disorder.
Right.
But I can manage that. Um, my husband, if he gets COVID, probably can't manage his asthma and live through it. That can be very bad. I, on the other hand, I mean, my immune system is hyper, and I would be fine if I contracted it, but of course I don't want to spread it, and um, I can manage whatever flare up I have. But at this point, as much as I like to help people, let some people with less risk at home continue to
Right.
provide that service.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's we have to take care of as much as we can, as help others as much as we can, but we also have to take care of ourselves. That's kind of important, very important, because if we can't take care of ourselves, then we can't take care of others. So,
Mm-hmm.
but the meat of the show is basically we're going part of it is what we've already talked about, but about helping others and stuff like that, but there are some things that are coming up that I wanted to bring up. First off, as many of you know, there's been some talk in Washington about a bill that's to help out um people during this situation, especially with money and stuff like that. so the last, so Vox is the one I'm mainly focusing on as far as their article, because they break down why it's not going through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Vox did, and I like Vox is left leaning. I'll be the first a minute. The reason they're called Vox is because it's Vox Populi, is but they did a really good breakdown, and basically it's 5 reasons why the are having a problem. Now the last vote that they did, because the Democrats don't have 46 they only have 43 members in the Congress, but 46 members voted against the last bill. So there had to have been some kind of crossover. I haven't been able to find the vote totals, but if I was to take a guess, because there's been somebody on the right that has been championing a lot of stuff that you wouldn't think they would champion, but that would be Mitt. Um, um, the guy who used to be a vulture capitalist has been surprisingly very much, he has been living his faith the last several months. Romney has just been incredible, and I want to give him all the praise in the world for that. It kind of scares me a little bit.
I wonder how that actually might tip some things around in the next election, given um, Republicans are finally, some maybe, starting to abandon the party over some of this.
I had a friend of mine that said is like he is positioning himself for 2024 to being the reasonable, sensible, or sensitive Republican,
Mm.
um, which would work for him, and he would get quite a number of votes on that front because of what he's done in the Senate in the past couple of months, especially if my hunch is correct about the vote that he's been taking on this particular on the third bill. So the first two bills went through, and it's the phase 3 bill that's causing the problem. And basically it breaks down to this, is that there's not enough protection for the $5 billion for businesses. This is supposed to be a loan system, guaranteed loans. It should be zero interest, but it's low interest loans, with 50 billion going to airlines, 8 billion going to cargo air companies, and 17 billion going to firms of critical to national security. But the problem is that there's no guarantee, because the Treasury Department has basically control over it, and decides who
Yeah.
gets it.
And they don't have to release who gets that money.
That's correct. That they feel that it's far too weak, and that even the president basically said that the president specifically refused to rule out offering assistance to his own companies. So it's like, really? That's the one thing you should rule out. It's like, I'm not going to take any money from my own companies. I'm going to make that very clear,
Yeah,
because
this is very top down economics bill, and we know that doesn't work.
yeah, there's also no money for individuals who don't file taxes, who don't earn enough money to file taxes. So the money that's supposed to come out is based on your income from the 2018 filings, and it's but basic. Yeah, go ahead.
I just, there's not a lot of ways around that to do that at a federal level as far as determining eligibility. I mean, if you could also include people who receive Medicare and receive assistance, of course. Um, like, because there are people who, based on their income, receive partial assistance, like, for instance, child care assistance, even if they don't qualify for welfare, but
Right,
they may not necessarily make enough to have filed for income tax. But they have to work with the data they have, and
right,
they can't very well access every business's payroll to determine actual current eligibility. They could use unemployment rolls, but to get this done as quickly as possible, I don't think that using tax returns is that bad an idea to get it done quickly. Now, to be eligible for the one-time check of 1,200, you had to make 23K as a single, 47K for a couple. If you made less, you received 600. So the poorest people receive the littlest, and that's kind of a problem. That there were no SNAP benefits added
right.
is definitely a problem. Even 500 billion to corporations with no accountability and not giving it to the most needy is the major problem, even just to get anything started. Um, and then the small businesses can only get a loan, while
Right.
they
And
have
it's
to have their doors shut.
right. And it's not even a zero interest loan like what the banks got when we bailed out the banks in '08. It is a low interest loan.
Hmm.
So they're still having to pay interest on that.
Well, yeah, and they haven't done anything to suspend student loan payments,
Right?
which is definitely a problem. There's no money in this bill to help state governments, and that's going to be the most efficient way to get things like testing done, which is really the only way to get this under control, because then you could start tracking cases more accurately. And I mean, self isolation only goes so far and won't be taken seriously until we have an accurate count, and the data from those tests, like the actual samples, can be used to research creating vaccines and an antibody test, because we don't
Hmm.
even know if you can recontract this now. So that kind of thing can be really important. But yeah, it basically boils down to, it did not help those who need it most.
Hmm.
And what's going on in the media, this bullshit fake news liberal media makes me sick, because so many of the headlines I'm seeing are like, Democrats blocked the bill, Democrats blocked the bill, but know why they blocked the bill, which is very good reasons. It was written overnight entirely by Republicans, and is
Hmm.
in this state where it's not helping actual people, just corporations. And all people are seeing in the news is the Democrats won't give us the check Trump promised us. And that's so wildly inaccurate. But those Beatty headlines and no one reading past them is delusion, creating a delusion about what's going on, the parties are behaving. They should strip them down. This is one of those things like taxes where, well, no, like any bill, I have been a proponent of the line item veto stuff for a
Hmm.
while. And as much as I despise Mango Mussolini, um, I think that he would be able to be easily pressured by the people around him to line item veto things that are publicly unpopular right now. And
So
maybe
there
just get the damn checks out and then worry about the rest of the economic relief. It's the right thing to do, so I don't know if he would, but if we had line item veto, that would be an end run to like make that promise, get something passed, and then just cut a bunch of shit out of it that's pork.
Right. And one of the things that you want to counter that with is take a look at what Canada is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Canada is going to be, and I just pulled it up and I put it on the website as well. Canada is basically for the next 15 weeks. That is what, 3 months basically.
Mm-hmm.
My math is horrible. For the next 15 weeks, every 2 weeks, Canada is going to be sending a check of $900 to people for a flat payment. This includes workers, self-employed, who are quarantined or sick, but do not qualify for e-sickness benefits. There's also a long-term support for support workers. Also, with this, the schools are closed for the rest of the year. They've suspended mortgage payments for at least 6 months. They've deferred this, and they've deferred student loans.
Yeah, we're so far behind the curve here.
And
We
then
really
and
are. I want to apologize to people in our chat. I normally would be sharing the links to the sources we've used for the show. You will be able to find them later on our website, but my clipboard is being weird. So I can't help you with that research tagging right now. You can find it in our show later.
Yeah, sorry about that. Also, and in Sweden, they're doing like 90% of your income for the next for the next 3 months, and Italy is basically saying, hey, you need to not worry about rent for the next 3 months. And here's the thing: when you even look at that, and there's some things that I posted down below about how there are cable companies, and trust me, cable companies are and power companies are just hogs because they're monopolies, and they are hogs when it comes to money. But they are suspending disconnections, and they are giving away, as far as for both of those, and cable companies are giving away internet services for those who don't have internet service.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if big businesses are stepping up more than the nation is stepping up, that's that scares me a lot. I'm just like,
Well, it's also a PR opportunity for them. Frankly,
right,
they don't want to look like the bad guys in this, and things like shut offs. I mean, we're suspending evictions only affects a very small percentage of our renting population, and
right.
that's a little scary right now. I have a friend who was evicted the other day during this, and the sheriff's like, doesn't what the president said doesn't apply to you.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's pretty rough. And the long term, I don't know. People are talking about rent strikes. I don't blame them. I mean, I don't. These a lot of people don't know if they're going to have their jobs back. That's another thing our government has been too slow on.
right.
There are other nations who have gone ahead and guaranteed paying like 75% unemployment. We'll talk about that later in our carrot segment. But, oops, the government handling that, but making businesses promise they would retain these jobs. Now, if a business goes out of business during this, obviously they're going to end up exempted from that. But
Right.
I don't think that's an unreasonable thing for the government to try and get some kind of guarantee you can return to work. It's like our family medical leave system here being so bad. That's another
Hmm.
thing that Canada does right. You have a pregnancy and you can um, share a certain amount of leave with your spouse. I think it's still a year. They were talking about going to 2 years, but either way, you can both take it together. You can each take half of it, and you get, basically you get unemployment and you're guaranteed your job when you get back. And enacting something like this during this kind of crisis, why is that out of the question? Well, I don't know. We can't even do it for family medical leave.
No, I no, you don't get paid for family medical leave. The only thing it does is guarantee that you don't get fired, but that's it. You don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
Um, so
What
it.
are things you
Mhm.
want to see come out of this? Positive things that we can learn from this crisis.
Well, one of the things, because this has been talked about a bit, some people have mentioned this that like a lot of the air pollution in China has cleared up. A lot of the water pollution in like not is it Venice? Yeah, Venice has kind of cleared up. That people being able to telecommute and work from home has done a great amount of good for the environment. That maybe one of the things that businesses and everything should honestly take a look at is, that because it would do a lot of good as far as the environment. If you get 40% of the nation working from home, that's 40% of the nation not on the roads or and whatever, and that I think would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I honestly think this really does push forward the whole universal health care at this point. I don't think, whoever is the Democratic nominee, I they can't they will not be able to
To
not
dodge
talk
that.
to dodge that,
Yeah.
if it's Biden or whatever. The other thing
I
it
don't have very high hopes that it'll be the impetus we need unless it gets much worse than it is now to actually get the healthcare reform done fully, unfortunately. Although recognizing economic impact and companies realizing that they do have systems in place that work at home and the economic or the environmental impact that could have a loan. Like maybe we can threaten them with like, well, if you don't want a carbon tax, you should have this percentage work from home within your capabilities. Now that your network has stood to this,
right.
and people
Mm,
with disabilities being employed, this proved that like, well, that was a lie. They could work from home. Lots of people could work from home. We're doing it.
yeah. And that's one of the things. The other thing I think is that I think there will be a large discussion about a stronger social safety net. Again, we're this nation. It's going to be interesting how this nation works on that, because I have seen so much good. There are so many videos, because, like, again, I'm stuck at home by myself, and I can only play Warcraft Classic so much before I just go, all right, I have grinded and I have farmed enough for one day. All right, I can't do it anymore. Um, but and I've seen so many videos of so many people doing good, and then I see videos of, like, there was this one woman, and it drove me out. She is sitting there and she has bought out an entire store's worth of toilet paper and is loading it in her truck, because it's basically fuck you, I've got mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have this nation of dichotomy. And I don't I and I was hoping, part of me hoped that this kind of crisis would wake some of those people up, and it has to some degree. There are a lot of good coming out of this, but again, it's just like, there's a lot of people out there that are still in that mindset of fuck you, I've got mine. And I don't know what can rattle them out of that,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
people this morning they're freaking out about closing gun stores.
Why do you need more guns? Why do we need more
Why
guns?
are they keeping the dispensaries open and closing gun stores? Because I think some of that's going on in parts of California right now. It's like, and maybe Denver. But I mean, because one is medicine and one is a killing machine. People might
I,
riot over the shit going on, and there's like, but it's a Second Amendment right, and there are people that hunt for food. Those people already have guns.
and you're
Hunters already have guns.
and the people that are saying, it's like, the people are saying, well, it's a Second Amendment right, and people that hunt for fruit, they're the ones that are complaining that they need to leave the stores open because they want more guns. They are terrified that we're basically going to end up in some Mad Max thing. It is not that severe. It's bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to downplay how bad it is, but I also don't want to make it to where it's a whole lot worse. There are people that, it's like, I joked about the stand thing. It's not that bad. It's not coming to that. It's not ever going to
It
be that bad.
could. No, Daniel, seriously, it could. I don't I don't wish to be alarmist. I want people to stay home though and
Right.
stop spreading it around. We don't even know how we know it's incredibly contagious. We know there's at least two strains already and it hasn't been long. We don't know how many more strains are going to show up. This mutates so fast that and it's deadly. People keep comparing it to the flu, and the flu is more deadly. Well, no, that's just because we don't have the data yet.
Well, and I posted that. I posted something about that. It's like, Donald Trump and this is from the USA article that will be in the show notes as well. Donald Trump is wanting to ease restrictions on the U.S., even though
Yeah,
we just had a death toll go up by 100 people in less than 24 hours as of Tuesday afternoon,
yeah. But,
and we
you
are.
have to save the economy. When, for who? It's like killing so many people. I don't know, at this point.
Yeah, I know.
And that weirdo Texas guy who, you know, we'd be willing to sacrifice ourselves for our grandchildren. Don't ruin the economy just to save the old people. What the hell? Like,
I don't even
because the
want to talk
more it
about it.
spreads, that's another thing. That's when
Mm-hmm.
we don't know if resistance occurs after infection or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the more it spreads, the more it has the opportunity to mutate, depending on different people's immune status and how it gets fought off.
Well, one of the things that I had read, is that there had been some cases of re-getting it.
They don't know though. However, if that is just the tests,
Mm,
like getting a false positive and or false negative and then testing positive again or not really, and they don't know the state of those people whether they were immune compromised or not. So there's just a lot of factors and we don't have a lot of data. Um, Canada, luckily after hockey shut down, but it's again only one strain. They did at least synthesize the virus, so that's the first path to a vaccine we have. But as far as testing, we need to test as many people as we can as quickly as we can. But we hopefully have the best people working on antibody tests. Because once you have antibody tests, you can find out if someone already had it. Which, if it doesn't mutate into a million different strains like the flu did, which it well may, um, at least we could vaccinate against the most deadly ones and see where the other strains take people symptomatically once we have that information. Then it'll be like you go get your flu shot every year.
right.
And it protects you against as many of them as they knew existed last year. But it's kind of the best we can hope for. And right now, it looks way more deadly. I'm a little baffled by the data coming in, apparently from China and Italy now, that it's killing men like 50% more men than women. And that's another. We need the data points. We need the science on this. We need controlled uh, contraction and testing to test the accuracy of these new tests. Because the government's like just letting the FDA approve everything very fast, and that's great to get them on the market, but it doesn't tell us the efficacy of the tests. Um, and the more information to combat this, the better.
Mm. Well, and that's one of the things that we if it's
Like, is
killing
it
more.
because men smoke more? Is it because men don't take care of themselves and go to the damn doctor? We don't really know. It might actually be a hormonal resistance.
Which would probably be a good thing because, less men in the world. I always believe women should take over the world. They'd probably do it better. That's why I was voting for Warren. Yeah, it's just like I thought she could do it better. Anyways, I'm kind of on Marston's side on that. And for those who don't know who Marston is, he's the one who created Wonder Woman. So he believed that women should be rulers of the world because they're the ones that could handle it better. Um, but he's a bit of an idol of mine too, for a lot of reasons. But man, it was amazing. You should. There's a great, just off tangent for a second. Looking for books, there is a great book, and it's called "The Secret Origins of Wonder Woman." I've read it a couple of times. It's really, really interesting. The life that Marston led, um, and it's something that I think any comic book fan and also any feminist should read because of his connections to Wonder because of his connections as far as to not only creating Wonder Woman but also his connections to so many early feminist icons and how that shaped him and also shaped Wonder Woman in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important. But anyways, that was off topic. I'm sorry, but that's my book recommendation of the week.
I know.
So, but I know I'm trying. I'm not downplaying that this is dangerous. I don't right now. I'm not seeing the data points saying that it is going to be, wipe out half of humanity. Okay, I don't see that. I see it bad. Don't get me wrong. I still see the last I checked, which was yesterday. It's still at a 3.8, 3.7 death rate, which is high because people are like, well, it's like the flu. No, the flu is 0.1%. And as I've said in the other podcast previous to this, the other podcast, it's the 0.1% is 100 people versus 10 people. 100 people, one person dies. 10 people, four people die. that's a huge fucking difference.
Hmm.
And so that's how those numbers are playing out as far as that is concerned. So that's something that we need to, talk about and understand. As yes, we
3.4% is what I'm seeing. So
is that it's 3.4. Okay, so
globally, yeah.
so all right, so it's 10 people, 3 people die versus 100 people, 1 person dies. Still a huge number.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, it is scary. I get that, and I understand that completely. I do. Um, I don't want it. I don't want people to completely freak out, and everything else, and start stocking up on guns and stuff like that because they're afraid that somebody's going to break in their house and steal toilet paper, or whatever. Uh, that's my thing. We need to be careful. Buy food. I've been seeing a lot of things of people's like buy enough food for a couple of weeks. Don't buy out the store.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People are panicking, and I get that. People. That's what. There's a line in Men in Black, the first Men in Black, where agent where Tommy Lee Jones is talking um, to Will Smith right after his trial, and and he's like, a person is smart, people are stupid, because when you get a group of people together, mentality lowers IQ. Is the And that's basically where we are right now. Is we're going with the herd mentality right now, and we need to step back and go, okay, take a breath. This is what needs to happen. We can protect ourselves without being crazy. And that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm not reading the book of Revelations to try to find, because there's been a joke around. It's like, January we were on the brink of war. February we had like 2 countries on fire, and then now we've got pestilence. What? I think your husband actually posted what's April going to bring, and it's a picture of Cthulhu coming out of
Yes.
the I'm going,
I
well.
saw another comment earlier today. It's like the Eldritch Gods are just like, oh yeah, here we go.
Like, maybe the Mayans were right after all, and things have been really weird after 2012, and we just, they said it was going to be different. They didn't say the end of the world as they knew it was going to change. We just, it was going to be a lot different, and it has been. Also, whoever kept repeating that old Chinese curse, "May you always live in interesting times." I have to have a discussion with you and with my wiffle bat in my hand, because you've started this, and we have to have a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay,
so
what
we've
else can people do? Wash your
well,
hands, stay home, help local people who are out of work. There's another source, and I'm sure other communities are doing this, but
mm-hmm,
a local restaurant manager that I know posted
mm-hmm,
an online document today with Venmo links, like basically virtual tip jars for all their staff that's out of work. That's pretty
right,
cool. You can still drive up and curbside pickup places. I know a lot of us are saving money in the situation, but if you're gonna try to safely grab a bite to eat, we did. I went to curbside and picked up from Broad Street Burger Company today, and I tipped very well. I tipped like a third um,
yep,
of our bill because I understand tipped wage. Those people, holy crap! I mean, all this uncertainty of when they can even go back to work, and if
mm-hmm,
you've ever worked a tip wage and gotten one of those checks, you got those like there's no point $14 check. They mostly
mm-hmm.
live off their tips. That's a lot of pain right now. Now, theoretically, businesses are supposed to be making it up to minimum wage, but that very rarely happens. And a lot of these small businesses are laying people off because they can't really afford even with cutting hours for the few people they're allowed to have on staff, to give them as much as they would get from unemployment. And
That's
that takes a
true.
while to get.
Yeah. I know that in our state that the governor has expanded unemployment to 12 weeks. That's 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the big thing, one of the things why we keep talking about staying home is, and we talk about, not doing the spread, or spreading and everything, is because of what's known as flattening the curve. And that's so we don't overwhelm our healthcare system, because that's what happened in Italy, basically, and in China, where they just got this huge spike of people
Man,
who were high risk,
I don't.
and there were a lot of tough decisions that were being made about, who got the care and who didn't.
Yeah.
And so if you flatten the curve, it does extend the time frame a bit, but it doesn't overwhelm the hospital systems, and that's the important thing. Yeah, you may be home a bit longer. That's perfectly fine. We'll figure out stuff. This is not 1918. This is 2020. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do, that we have entertainment, we have stuff, and we have ways to stay connected with each other,
Mm-hmm.
that normally, like, get a Discord. They're free, and you're able to do calls on them and talk to people across the country for free, and everything like that. And it's very helpful. You can the face chat, all that kind of stuff with cell phones. Even if your cell phone doesn't work, as long as you have a hotspot, you can always do those kind of connections as well. For that, to stay connected. Help out where you can. If you are one of those people who are not at high risk, and if you're like me, who is not, that lives alone, so I'm not going to infect anybody else other than my possible coworkers. And you're able to go and help, someone who is older in your neighborhood or whatever, go grocery shopping for them or whatever, offer that. Like I said, one of the things is, like, setting up a lending library in your neighborhood, to where people can borrow books and DVDs and games and stuff like that with each other, because you can only play so many games, the same game only so many times, before you go, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and so we got word. Well, and I'll be hosting some Jackbox games some more, I'm sure. Hi, Nick Yams. Hi, Goth Falcon. By the way, when we heard the restaurant shutdown was happening, we went to our local brewery that we spend time at. I don't know if you can see here. We bought a keg, like a sextal, but nonetheless a keg of Rob's favorite beer, and like we would have spent that $100 easily, in the couple weeks, months that this is gonna go on. And we have growlers in the house because we collect them from different breweries. And like Rob took one to our neighbors last night. There's a trip they don't have to make. When we live streamed the other night, we had like virtual bar room. We had invited our local friends, and we got on Facebook, and we tasted one of the beer club beers, because they also had to postpone indefinitely the beer club releases.
Right.
And so we talked about that and just hung out with a bunch of locals on Facebook. And I was like, you know what? We're out in the living room. It is like 1,000 feet from the door. Like, you've been here at our fires or whatever, you know where it is. I put the growlers by the keg. Come get yourself one. share share the love with your neighbors, for entertainment or what you have.
Right. Yeah, do what you can. There was, someone on Twitter posted that basically what they did is that, they kind of, not them, but the neighborhood kind of organized a get to know your neighbors situation, um,
Okay.
where they basically all went out into their yards,
Oh,
uh,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and basically, chat. shouted or talked to each other across the yards. There's distance, so that's because they say stay about 6 feet away from each other, and when they stayed the 6 feet away from they were able to talk to each other and meet their neighbors because they had just moved into this particular neighborhood. The individuals that was following, but they were there and they were able to meet their neighbors and there are I know there are um people that are doing like neighborhood concerts where they're going out in the yards and having neighborhood concerts. They're also I know that like several operas are doing online performances where they're doing performances online as
Mm-hmm.
well as plays are being performed online, and I know
Well,
there are local performances that are doing that. And speaking of that, if you had tickets to a play or a performance or whatever and those have been canceled, one of the things that I would suggest is instead of asking for a refund, just donate it to that particular theater
mm-hmm. Yeah, the arts are
because
suffering pretty hard right now.
so it's like you know what, keep the
But
money now.
they're also one of the main groups providing
Right.
amazing emotional support in their communities.
So yeah, help out, especially artists are what keep us sane, are what keep us motivated, but also what keep us in not informed, but keep us in the know in our brain
Mm-hmm.
wise.
Do you
And
use Nextdoor?
what is I've never
There's an app called Nextdoor, and
okay.
it's basically meant it's to help neighbors find each other. Like you put in
Okay.
your address and it finds neighbors that are also signed up for it. That's how a lot of these neighborhood like sing-alongs out at your driveway. And there was a dinosaur costume parade, social distancing parade I saw online today. But that
No,
might be a way to get in touch with their neighbors and see what they need, or get to know them if you haven't.
yeah, again, use all of the use these things. We can still, and that's I think that's one of the great things about this in some ways is that it's kind of forcing us to stay in our homes or stay in the home area to where we can actually meet the people that we live next to. That's something that we've kind of gotten away from in the last few years. So is because of technology and stuff like that. um I think that's a good thing too in some respects. I think that's something I'm hoping will be more to where there'll be more neighborhood cookouts and neighborhood gatherings and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
once this is over. I'm sure that every block on every street corner once this is over is probably going to have a huge party. It's just going to be like this. I'm sure, like when businesses and restaurants are open back up, that first night, they're going to have to like, it's like we have no, we don't have enough staff, kind of thing, you know. So,
Oh, those bars are gonna be crazy.
yeah. So let's go with our traditional carrot and stick.
Okay.
Um, as we're ending up the show because our hour is almost up, so I'm gonna
Yes, and
let
I have another stream to run.
you have another stream to run in a half hour. So we're gonna let I'm gonna let September do the carrots and I'll do the sticks.
Okay, so the first carrot I'd put in here is that Denmark's idea could help the world avoid a Great Depression. Denmark basically shut down their economy. It was an economic stabilization package. So what they've done is they told private companies hit by the pandemic that it would pay 75% of their employees' salaries to avoid mass layoffs. The plan could require the government to spend as much as 13% of the national economy in 3 months. So that's roughly 2.5 trillion stimulus in the U.S. Spread out over 13 weeks. So it's really huge, um, but it could definitely stabilize the economy because we are looking at a seriously long-term effect here with so many of the people that actually run the economy, in the lower castes. I'll go ahead and say it out loud. Um, But yeah, super aggressive plan, and we'll see how that pans out. But I like this a lot. I mean, this goes up to 32.88 a month. Um, so it would preserve the income for all employees earning up to $52,400 a year.
Okay.
But they are requiring the government to retain and preserve their relationship with their workers.
All right, and that's extremely good. And you had another thing that you wanted to mention.
I did. I wanted to give some kudos to some businesses. There was a mention in our chat too that Cracker Barrel has done a donation to local soup kitchens, has plans for more. They're also giving their servers 60% of their reported income, including tips. And the servers can apply for unemployment as well. Uh, that was from our friend of the show, Goth Falcon. His mother works there. I've also seen that Wegmans, my favorite grocery store, and Publix, who they're pretty damn great too, and Target, they're increasing their workers' wages. These are all essential businesses because they provide
Mhm,
food and necessary supplies, and these people are having to work, and they're front lines. They
mhm.
are very likely to get this, and the stores have been very aggressively sanitizing, as well as giving a $2 wage increase. I saw for Wegmans it was at this time. Publix is apparently going to be a permanent increase.
Okay.
Publix also at a local one that a friend of ours works at gave out $50, just the manager went around giving out $50 cards to help them out with, their food necessities in the meantime. So, yeah, businesses that have to stay open, treating the people that are, I mean, yeah, they kept their job, but they're in danger, and they're making it so that we can get food. My friend Lori works in the food supply chain, and I don't think she's getting any such perks from her employers. She just got papers so she can drive there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Publix is own no, it's whole is it Publix that's owned
Yes, by
by
their employees.
oh, I thought Publix was owned by Amazon.
No,
Okay. All
you're
right. Well,
thinking of
Whole
Whole
Foods.
Foods
Okay.
was
All right.
purchased by Amazon. No,
Uh,
Publix is owned by its employees
oh,
entirely,
okay.
100%. Always has been.
I guess that's why it's called Publix because they're publicly because they're owned by the public basically.
There you go.
All
And
right.
they
So
have really good subs, like almost as good as Wegmans.
they also have really good they have amazing pastries except for the cannolis are not that great, but they have this really great like cinnamon sugar pinwheel that is amazing. But anyways,
I have not had that, but I can get like coffee crisp there, which makes me happy.
so a non-essential business that is staying open is Hobby Lobby for give me a moment because this one hits me in a lot of ways. So Hobby Lobby, for those that you don't know, is owned by an evangelical Christian crazy person. I mean, an evangelical Christian.
Evil Angelical, is it? Which I think you just made a sniglet, a
Yes,
great sniglet.
I'm just like I can't. Anyway, so it is owned by an evangelical Christian, supposedly, and they were the ones that basically sued so that they didn't have to give their employees contraceptives. But so they're staying open because, and I'm going to quote the tweet or quote the letter that came out. In my family, Barbara is a prayer warrior. Today, that title takes on such a different meaning than I ever imagined before because we're at war with this latest virus. And her quiet prayer time this week, the Lord put on Barbara's heart three profound words to remind us He's in control: guide, guard, and groom. We serve God and will guide us through this storm, whom will guard us as we travel to the places never seen before, and who, as a result of this experience, will groom us to be better than we ever thought we'd be possible for now. that's what he wrote. That's what Green wrote. The owner of the company, the CEO, David Green. Basically, his wife had a vision from God, stating that they needed to stay open.
I mean, no.
I,
And Guy Garden Groom, what are you doing? That's not. That's such a selective interpretation, right? At best.
and I'm sorry when I hear the word groom, I get very bad connotations. So I'm
They're
just like
awful. They're so
that.
awful in so many ways. They just damage us for this country. Now, like Joanne is open. It won't be here after Thursday morning, but they're doing curbside pickup. I don't know.
And don't get me wrong, I
I
understand
mean,
about
people need shit to do, but come on.
yeah, I get that, but
They're just like, we're staying through to the end.
yeah, it's like GameStop did the exact same thing. When they were there was last week there was two releases of two new games. One was Doom Eternal, and the other was Animal Crossing. And so they stayed open and didn't supply enough
We have
sanitary.
both of those. I downloaded them in my living room.
I know, but GameStop also didn't supply any hand sanitizer, didn't supply any wipes, any Lysol, anything like that, and then was telling their employees they need to take in more trade-ins.
Mm-hmm.
So so I'm just like, yeah. The other thing, and this is a stick, but it's also kind of a kudos as well. For those of you who are on social media, you may have seen this, but there was a video that went viral of this guy basically at a Walmart in Missouri going down, and he basically says, "Who's scared of the con? I can't pronounce it. What's name the virus for me?"
What, COVID 19?
No, well,
What?
the other way. That's it. COVID-19, but he says it the other way.
Oh, you want to use Corona?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
coronavirus. Yeah, that's what you say. It's like who's scared of the coronavirus? Before running his tongue down a row of deodorants. Okay, he licked a row of deodorants and posted this on his social media because he is smart, I guess. So the police got a hold because he put it on his social media. The police got a hold of it, looked at it, and then basically arrested him.
Yeah.
And I'm going, sometimes karma is instantaneous and is a bitch. And it's like, and I'm very happy that they arrested him. I'm not sure exactly what the charges are, nor do I really care because because that's endangerment. That's endangerment of
Mm-hmm.
other people. And
Mm-hmm.
he basically, so anyways, be safe, practice your distancing, wash your hands, you know, be mindful, don't buy what you need, don't buy for 6 months, buy what you need for a couple of weeks, see what happens in a couple of weeks and do the same thing. Just be careful. That's my suggestion. Watch, get your news and information from reliable sources. I mean, the CDC and the World Health Organization. Don't get it from politicians. Don't get it from even news organizations, and unless they're quoting them. I'm even weary of some of them at this point. As far as what to do, how to stay safe. Uh, you
Mm-hmm.
know, listen to the government officials as far as what they're doing and shutting down, what you should do as far as those situations are concerned. With that being said, I want to thank you for joining us at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Reverend Barney. You can follow me at Seth Roth II. You can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, podcast, as well as our website. Just Google us. Don't forget our Patreon page where $2 a month can help us keep going.
And I'm September. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12 and hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Um, and tonight at 8:30, my husband will be going live at twitch.tv/rmccready if you want to help us write a song. Thanks for listening today, and bless your hearts. Okay, fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't bring this up because I figured your head would actually explode, but I was showing Rob earlier. Did you see there were a couple of governors who had brought abortion in as medical procedures that need to be delayed because of this?
I'm going to shoot people in the face. I'm just going
Yeah.
that would have been my reaction. Oh, I'm just going to shoot people in the face. Oh,
Yeah,
wait, no.
yeah. I figured you'd kind of lose your shit, so.
Like, really, at this time, really, fuckers.
Like, really? Oh, God, that's a really obvious tactic. Gross. All right, for now, I'm going to raid Mike TV, because I love him, and it's where we stole the idea for writing a song on the internet. So let's do that.
So we have.
That's okay.
Well, 2's better than 0, so.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, folks. We had a couple people in the chat today. One was from London.
Oh, nice.
Right?
That it must be. That's what, midnight there now. I think because of the time shift.
What time? Like 1. It's 5 hours.
Yeah, but with the time shift.
Hey,
Oh.
912, how you doing?
They don't do that?
Heck yes.
Awesome. They do that, but I think they do it differently. Let me hold a clocky thingy.
Are you streaming today as well? Was this were you guys doing
world
Geek Bros?
clock.
I guess well not because you're streaming. So
Hold on.
yeah, well, Smurf you. I can
have to
Smurf
respond
you.
to
Yeah,
this.
sorry, I do have. So I wrote a song. And thank you, Trooper HX. Thank you so much for the follow, man.
I know Cork, Ireland is
called
currently
Fuck You.
midnight,
It's
so
like, I wanted to write a song that was just
that's
like
4 hours.
as like straight ahead, sexy. Not straight ahead sexy, but like straight ahead, like, hey, you're beautiful. Let's you and I go hook up, So and I just wanted to write a song that was just kind of straight lust, and so it's called Fuck You.
It's 4 hours.
And then we were gonna play that song. We were gonna play. Oh, I'll play Paleophile. I'll play Smurf You. I'll play both of them. There we go. So.
All right.
Go have yourself
right
a shot
on.
of whiskey and then prep for the next one.
Yeah. Something,
least-
man.
How bad's the pain?
Pretty good today. I'm gonna ice it during the next show. But pretty good. My meds are keeping me mostly under control.
That's good. I'm glad about that.
Me too. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. You have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
I want my dinosaur, omnivore, carnivore, herbivore.
Cut my fucking piece of shit. Oh, I can't hear him now. Because my out is
Archaeopteryx extend those sexy wings.
It's gonna have to change.
It makes me think the naughtiest things.
Do we want to do Twitch?
Brontosaurus with your neck so very long. I can stroke it all night long. Velociraptor, give me some more, you big dickosaur. Oh, fuck 'em all till I'm dinosaur. Megalosaur, give me your ultra megalodon. Sizemosaurus, you shake me, you're breaking my heart on. I wanna go back to the past for that sweet dino ass. Why I'm at the clock, take 80 top for that fat dino cock. Please take me home.